Will you help me, poet?
I will be your guide through this eternal place.
You probably remember Dante's Inferno, that wild 2010 action game from Visceral Games, where you literally hack and slash your way through hell itself. It dropped right in the middle of the God of War clone era, but it had its own dark twist, and honestly, a lot of people still talk about it to this day. But what if I told you that Dante's Inferno wasn't supposed to be just one game, and instead a trilogy? Visceral and EA had big plans for sequels, taking us beyond hell into Purgatory and even heaven. Yeah, that almost happened. Let's dive into one rundown, how the series was meant to evolve, what those cancelled games could have looked like, and why it all got buried in EA's vault. Alright, quick refresher. Dante's Inferno was released in 2010 for the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and a version for the PlayStation Portable. Developed by Visceral Games, the same studio behind Dead Space. It took inspiration from the Divine Comedy by Dante Alighieri, a classic poem about a journey through the 9 circles of hell. But Visceral didn't want to make a slow, poetic adventure. They went full-on hack and slash. You play as Dante, a crusader who literally cuts his way through hell to save his beloved Beatrice. It had all the ingredients of a solid action game: brutal combat, heavy religious symbolism, twisted creature designs, and of course, a ton of controversy over its marketing and depiction of damnation. The game did pretty well. Critics were mixed, but players liked it, and sales were strong enough that EA greenlit plans for a sequel trilogy.
The beast has turned me back.
After Inferno, Visceral wanted to continue Dante's journey, this time through Purgatory, codenamed Purgatorio. The sequel was in early concept stages, not long after launch. The idea was to shift the tone, less hellfire and punishment, more redemption and moral struggle. Instead of fighting demons, Dante would confront his own guilt and the soul seeking purification.
Brothers, absolve me!
This power, Dante.
Combat-wise, it was meant to expand the system from the first game. More dynamic movement, multiple weapon types, and larger open areas. One concept artist even described it as a brighter hell, still disturbing, but more beautiful and surreal. Unfortunately, the sequel never made it out of pre-production. EA started losing interest, partly because Dante's Inferno didn't blow up the way God of War 3 did. I mean, come on EA. And partly because Visceral was being pushed hard into Dead Space 2. The final chapter was supposed to be in Paradiso, taking Dante all the way to heaven. And this one would have been tricky. How do you make heaven an interesting place to fight in? The dev team reportedly brainstormed some crazy ideas. A heaven that isn't peaceful, more like a test of faith, full of angelic beings that see Dante as an intruder. Environments made of light, energy, and shifting architecture, almost sci-fi divine in style. A story where Dante finally confronts Beatrice's fate and his own redemption. It was ambitious as hell, no pun intended, but also expensive. EA wasn't confident it could sell a religious trilogy in a market dominated by shooters and sequels.
What more?
It's up to you.
Where are we going?
Here is where it gets interesting. There were other Dante's Inferno ideas floating around EA that never got off the ground. A multiplayer arena game set in hell, where players could choose different damned souls to fight with. A smaller DLC title focusing on Beatrice's journey through Limbo. Even talks about a mobile adaptation and a Dead Space crossover. Yeah, you heard that right. Imagine Isaac Clarke in hell. Most of these were just rough pitches, but it shows EA really considered turning Dante's Inferno into a full franchise, not just a one-time thing. While the sequels died out, one thing did survive: the animated movie. Released alongside the game, Dante's Inferno, an animated epic, was basically a retelling of the game's story. but with multiple animation studios handling different sections, giving it this trippy and even tone. It wasn't amazing, but it gave the franchise a bit more reach. There were even rumors at one point of a live-action film being developed by Universal, though that also fizzled out quietly. So, what actually killed Dante's Inferno as a series? Well, a few things did. 1. Timing. The game launched just months before God of War 3, and the comparisons hurt it bad. 2. EA's shift. Around 2011-2012, EA started focusing heavily on online services, shooters, and safer IPs, stuff like Battlefield, Mass Effect, and FIFA Ultimate Team. 3. Visceral's workload. The studio had its hands full with Dead Space 2 and later Dead Space 3, leaving little room to experiment. By the time Dead Space 3 wrapped, the market for single-player action games had changed, and EA decided not to revisit Dante at all.
Let my power flow.
Now, more than a decade later, Dante's Inferno still stands out as one of those fascinating what could have been stories. It had the potential to be a trilogy that explored heaven, hell, and everything in between. A mix of theology, action, and wild art direction. Instead, it became a one-hit wonder, a brutal, flawed gem from a time when developers weren't afraid to make something insane. And with Visceral Games gone, it's safe to say Dante's Inferno 2 isn't rising from the dead anytime soon. I mean, there is always a room for a remaster, but only time will tell.
Has given way to the sins of man, like all the rest before.
It's kinda poetic. Honestly, a game about redemption that never got the chance to redeem itself. But who knows? With EA revisiting old franchises lately, maybe one day we'll get to see Dante swing that scythe again. Anyway, that's the story of Dante's Inferno sequels that never made it out of the flames. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like and let me know in the comment which cancelled game you wish had survived. Dante's Inferno 2, Alice Asylum, or even Scalebound. Whatever your pick is, I'll catch you in the next one.